What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at Aquaman, starring Jason Momoa, directed by James Wan. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. Overall, I like Aquaman. My thoughts on Aquaman haven't really changed much, but after another rewatch, it does have things that I really don't care for, and I do think that the story is overall very cluttered and crammed in. But as an overall, just total package, Aquaman is just a fun movie to sit through. The movie, like the runtime, is very bloated, but to James Wan's credit, he at least makes the most of it, and there's not a whole lot of scenes that drag on. The movie tries to keep an entertaining pace. Most of the actors in this movie are clearly enjoying themselves, especially Jason Momoa. And like I said, this movie just has an overall fun vibe. It mixes a somberness and silliness without the two overcrowding one another. Unlike previous entries into the DCEU slash Synderverse, Aquaman is kind of similar to Wonder Woman in the sense that it's a movie that if DC slash Warner Brothers started off with from the get go, then the Synderverse slash DCEU would not be going through its 1800th reboot with James Gunn. But since Warner Brothers and DC and Zack Snyder, they just, had to do the exact opposite of everything. And they took the very controversial and just, what are you doing way? We are what we are now when it comes to the DCEU, which is just a mess that's going to get rebooted once The Flash comes out. But enough about that. Let's talk about Aquaman as a movie. As I said, this is an overall fun movie that is loaded with good stuff. It's also loaded with some stuff that you could have easily just took out of the movie and saved it for a sequel. Because this movie pretty much tries to do a lot of things. It continues Aquaman's arc from his introduction in Justice League, and then it expands upon that. While all the while, it tells his origin story. It tells his origin story, and it also tells the story of him trying to find his mom. It tells the story of him going up against his brother Ocean Master to have the right to rule Atlantis. Like, this movie is juggling way too many things. It also tells a revenge plot of Black Manta coming after Aquaman because Aquaman left Black Manta's father to die. So like, this movie is, juggling 5 to 6 stories all at once, and it can get exhausting. It can get very bloated and very convoluted in a lot of areas because James Wan and the writers, they're trying to cram so many things into one movie. Now, of course, this would not have happened if Zack Snyder actually knew what the fuck he was doing and did not introduce fucking Aquaman before giving him a proper movie to actually flesh out his story. Instead, Mr. Zack Snyder, who I love as a filmmaker, but he's just not good at doing superhero movies. He has no idea how to create a universe. He sucks ass at it. And unfortunately, everything that came after BVS and Justice League, they pretty much have to do double time in order to just establish these characters. So Aquaman as a standalone story is very entertaining. Like I said, even though I think the story is very, very bloated in a lot of areas, James Wan does attempt, and for the most part does succeed at making this movie come across as coherent as possible without getting lost in the shuffle, without being buried under its own weight. A lot of the positives in this movie is the cast. Jason Momoa as Aquaman, I like him as Aquaman. Jason Momoa does have more of that hey bro, alcoholic, let's drink beer Aquaman type of persona to him. Those characteristics are more fit for Lobo, the bounty hunter, than Aquaman. But for the rendition that they're going for, Momoa fits fine. He fits the role good. If the rumors are true and Momoa is going to be playing Lobo and someone else is taking up the mantle of Aquaman, maybe then you can get the more regal interpretation of Aquaman. But for what Jason Momoa brings to the table, he's entertaining. He's a lot of fun to watch as the character, and you can tell the man clearly has a love for the source material and the character itself because he just brings a lot of personality and badassery to Aquaman, and he handles the action sequences really, really well. So yeah, I'll never hate on Momoa's Aquaman. It's really good for what this interpretation of Aquaman is all about. Momoa fits it really, really well. got very little complaints, and I like the chemistry he has with most of the actors in this movie. I like the chemistry with his father, played by Tamir Morrison, the Boba Fett himself. I think Arthur and his father have really good on-screen chemistry with one another. There's a lot of genuine love there. The scene where Arthur meets his mother, Nicole, played by Nicole Kidman for the first time, Queen Atlantia. It's a really touching and emotional scene, and James Wan did a really good job at building up that ultimate reveal, which I thought was really nice and had a nice payoff. Speaking of which, I like the opening prologue with Arthur's father and mother meeting for the first time, and then you have a nice little action sequence where the Atlantean guards are trying to take the queen back to her home, and you have this nice fight sequence in the lighthouse. I thought that was actually a fun scene, and I like the visual and I like the visualness of it. Like James Wan tried to do it all in one take, and it looks pretty cool actually. And he actually repeats that again later on in the movie, which I thought was actually pretty cool. So yeah, I like it. I thought Nicole Kidman, for the screen time she had, I thought she was actually really good. She was fine in the role. Patrick Wilson, who played Prince Orem, aka Ocean Master. I like Patrick Wilson as an actor. I like him in this movie. He brings the comic book villainy of Ocean Master to life, and the man is clearly having a good time. He's both cunning and ruthless, but also over the top and comic booky at the same time. And he plays it really well. And the chemistry between Wilson and Momoa is surprisingly really good. They work really well for one another. And I like the sibling rivalry. Like Ocean Master, in Ocean Master's mind, he's pure Atlantean, which means he should be given Throne of Atlantis. And that his half-breed brother shouldn't even be coming close to Atlantis or to the throne because he's not worthy of it because of his heritage. He's half human, half Atlantean, and not a pureblood. I like that. That's straight out of the comic books. I think it's New 52. I'm not sure if it's original continuity. Don't quote me on that. I'm not the world's biggest Aquaman fan in terms of his comic book run. I only know what I know, which is very, very little and just bare bones basics. But for how the movie interpreted it, I enjoyed it, and I thought Patrick Wilson was really cool. And also, props to James Wan and his team for pretty much making his Ocean Master costume straight out of the page at the end of the movie with the purple and the silver helmet with the red eyes. Looked fucking awesome. That's another thing. The wardrobes and costume design in this movie, amazing. Aquaman's traditional attire is in this movie, but instead of being done like a leotard, it's actually created in a way where it looks like body armor, and it looks really cool on screen. It doesn't look out of place at all. But back to the actors. I just want to get the little tidbit in right away because I think this overall movie, just from a production standpoint, this movie is absolutely beautiful and stunning, and I'll get to that momentarily. You have Willem Dafoe, who plays Vulko, who is like the Vizier of Atlantis and a friend of Aquaman. In the flashback scenes, we see it's Vulko who is pretty much training Arthur to control his powers and pretty much getting him up to speed with his Atlantis heritage. I like Willem Dafoe. He plays a good mentor role. He was fine in the movie. Doesn't really get a whole lot to do, but he does play the role of a wise mentor really, really well. And I do like the scenes with him and Momoa. They bounce off one another really well. You have Dolph Lundgren, who is in this movie, who actually has a substantial role because his character, is forced to ally with Ocean Master after they're attacked by surface dwellers. Of course, it's revealed that it was actually Ocean Master paying off Black Manta to do this attack as a way to get Dolph Lundgren's character to join up with Ocean Master. But then Dolph Lundgren's character has a change of heart towards the end of the movie when his daughter convinces him that everything was all a ploy. So, Dolph Lundgren's character of King Xerxes, he actually has a nice little arc to him. And Dolph Lundgren, he wasn't in the movie a lot, but in the scenes he was in, he didn't feel out of place to me. I actually enjoyed him. Amber Turd plays Mera, the love interest of Aquaman. Now listen, Amber Turd, she's a scummy human being. And she's not a horrible actress, but I didn't really care for her when I first saw this movie, and I don't really care for her when I rewatch it. She's fine. You can clearly tell that Momoa's personality overshadows hers because Momoa's has more of a bombastic personality, and Amber Heard, she just has a natural she just doesn't, when she tries to act tough, it just comes across as fake. mean, you could have gotten a much better actress with more oomph to play Mera, and I think she would have held her own against him. Rumors have it that Emilia Clarke might be taking over the role of Mera, and to be honest with you, I think Emilia Clarke could pull it off. I mean, I'm not the world's biggest Emilia Clarke fan, mainly because I did not like her in Terminator Genesis. But from what I heard, she's actually really good in Game of Thrones, so I don't know. I mean, then again, if you put Emilia Clarke against Jason Momoa, it'll be like a 40-year-old man is banging a 15-year-old, so I'm not okay with that. That just sounds weird. But hey, whatever. In terms of what we got, Amber Turd, she's okay as Mera. Her chemistry with Momoa is decent. It's nothing. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's nothing that's gonna like make you be like, oh God, either. It's okay. To her credit, it's okay. By the way, like shithead Miller, I do not support Amber Turd, and I'm glad, and I hope both of them get outed out of this universe quick. All right. I think I covered most of the actors except for one, which is Yahya Abdul-Manti II, who played Black Manta, aka David Kane. I love the overall look of Black Manta, straight out of the page almost. He has a cool fight scene with Aquaman when he's in his Black Manta gear when they're in Italy. Very entertaining action sequences. Black Manta's storyline with Aquaman is straightforward. It's just revenge. It's simply motivated by revenge. And he also does some backdoor deals with Ocean Master and Atlantis as well, which is a nice little play on what Ocean Master and Black Manta normally do, because these two are known for having alliances here and there. Pretty much Ocean Master uses Black Manta to start up shit so that way he can get Atlantis involved. It's no different than how it is in this thing. And like I said, Manta's motivation against Aquaman is solely out of revenge. At the beginning of the movie, Black Manta and his father are pirates. They're looting a submarine. Aquaman comes in. He refuses to save Black Manta's dad, and it's all revenge. That's pretty much it. There's really nothing to Manta's character. The only thing of intrigue is in the mid-credit scene. Dr. Stephen Shin, played by Randall Park, takes in Manta, and in the mid-credit scene teases a team up between the two, since Shin knows a lot about Atlantis and Aquaman, and Manta is going to use that information to try and track down Aquaman. That's pretty much it. Like I said, there's nothing to a revenge motivation for a character. But performance-wise, I thought Manti was actually pretty good. I liked him. And like I said, the Black Manta outfit looked phenomenal. Straight out of the page for the most part. Perfect. Let's talk about the action sequences in this movie. This movie is just a lot of fun in terms of its action. The first fight between Aquaman and Ocean Master during the Ring of Fire, very entertaining. Then you have like this Star Wars inspired TIE fighter chase scene, but underwater with Aquaman and Mera trying to get away from the Atlanteans. That was a lot of fun. And the music by Henry Gregg, I'll make sure I get his name right, by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, who did the music. Wait, I want to make sure that's his name. Yeah, no, oh, sorry, that's the screenwriter. My bad. Rupert Gleason Williams, he did the music. The music in this thing is heavily inspired by like 80s synth, especially the Midnight Express, and it fits the tone of this movie perfectly. I love the music in this movie, and like I said, it has that 80s synth inspiredness to it, and it works for a lot of these action sequences, especially the underwater chase scene, and when Aquaman is also fighting off, the forces of Ocean Master in the climax, and when he's fighting Black Manta. Like, I can't praise the musical score in this movie enough. It's perfect. Very, very good. Good shit. And the action sequences are a lot of fun. Like I said, the first fight with Arthur and his brother in the Ring of Fire, a lot of fun. The underwater TIE fighter scene, a lot of fun. The brawl between Aquaman and Black Manta in Italy on the surface, a lot of fun. Very, very good shit. And of course, the ending climax. The final battle is bloated, especially when it's Aquaman and an army against another army. But then when it gets down to blows and it's Aquaman versus his brother, that's another That's another very entertaining fight in which Aquaman uses the trident to defeat him, and he spares his brother at the end too, which is what I like, because Queen Atlantis said it best. Ocean Master has been misguided ever since he was a child. So all he knows is that Atlantis is righteous and the land is not righteous. He doesn't know. He doesn't understand that that they're one and the same, basically, like Arthur is. I like it. Ocean Master has a very subtle character arc when you actually watch this movie and pay attention to it. Like, he's not all the way evil. He's more or less doing what he thinks is best for Atlantis, and by doing that, he has to destroy the world above, so that way Atlantis can be in peace. And then when Atlantis pretty much said, "Hey, you've been misguided," you can actually see the subtlety in Patrick Wilson's performance. Like, it's very touching when he's reunited with his mother, and if you look and you pay attention to his performance, you can see in his facial expressions that he's confused. He doesn't know what to think anymore. Like, he just found out that his mother's still alive. Now he's being told that there's no difference between the land and the sea. So, like, it's changing his worldview. Now, how that will play into the sequel, I'm very interested to see, because you can do a lot with Ocean Master and Aquaman. Like, this movie had them as rivals. Maybe the second movie they were like have an uneasy alliance, and Ocean Master goes from being a super villain to maybe an anti-hero. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of potential you can do. There's a lot of different directions you can go with the relationship with Aquaman and his brother. The overall production values of this movie is fantastic. This is a beautiful looking movie from a cinematography standpoint. I think James Wan kills it as a director. He makes this movie visually flashy, visually appealing. The scene in the trench with all those underwater creatures is straight out of a horror movie. And there's this one scene where Aquaman and Mera are deep diving with a flare underneath the water, and it just looks visually spectacular. It looks awesome. And when you have all the trench creatures surrounding them, it looks like there's like 100 of them at least. It's like this cool horror movie visual that is awesome. Now, of course, James Wan got his start doing horror movies like Saw and Insidious, so he brings that style to this scene, and it's awesome. I love it. Good shit. And like I mentioned earlier, the overall story of this movie is pretty much Arthur, learning to balance out his human side and his Atlantean side, while also and coming to terms with the fact that he is going to be the king of Atlantis. So he goes on that emotional journey. But like I said, you also have other things in this movie as well, where I think it can make the story feel a little bit more bloated. And it's James Wan trying to juggle, 5 to 6 different story points and trying to make them coexist all at once. Because when you get to the second half of the movie, it's pretty much Aquaman and Mera doing an Indiana Jones style of adventure, trying to find the lost King of Atlan, so that way Arthur can get the trident and have the power to take down Ocean Master. And like I said, for the most part, it's handled fairly well, though it can get very convoluted and very bloated in a lot of areas. But overall, James Wan did a decent job at balancing out all the story beats. Whew. Yeah. Okay, so let's just wrap this review up. Like I said, my overall thoughts on Aquaman is that I enjoyed this movie. I like it a lot. I like this movie better than Wonder Woman, but on the same level of Wonder Woman, which is why, I'm overall going to give it an overall 8 out of 10. I'm going to stick with my original grade of 8 out of 10, because this movie is very entertaining, and it does what I want an Aquaman movie to do. Entertain me from start to finish. Give me fun action sequences. Give me cool visuals with Atlantis. Give me a hero that I can get behind and I can support. Make him charismatic. Make me like his story. Make me want to feel emotionally invested. And with this movie, it does what I want it to do. I feel invested, and I want to see Aquaman's story get completed in his first movie. So that way, when he does his second movie, we can just have even more fun and really get to explore the coolness of his character in Atlantis. And side note, I love the comic book inspired shots this movie has, especially at the end when Aquaman jumps out of the water with the trident. Awesome splash page shot. Love it. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Aquaman. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.